What exactly is going on with the death of Hulk Hogan? When the wrestling giant died, we believed this was just a tragic natural death. But now, based on statements coming out, including from the local police department, we have to talk, we have to ask, is there something else going on? Let's try to figure it out.
The world was stunned when the news broke, and even now the shock hasn't worn off. Hulk Hogan, the man who embodied wrestling, the larger-than-life superstar who turned his name into a global brand, was suddenly gone. Not just gone.
You know, it was shocking when Hulk Hogan passed away last month, right? July 24th, at the age of 71, this legendary former six-time WWE wrestling champion. But now, the details surrounding his death, this apparent ongoing investigation into his death, honestly, I don't even know how much more shocking you can get, because we're going to talk about what is coming out right now, including a statement that we got from the police department. So let me go through this. Apparently, Hogan, real name Terry Bollea, stopped breathing at his Clearwater, Florida home. And authorities arrived after a 911 call relating to cardiac arrest was placed. He was pronounced dead at the Morton Plant Hospital, and it was reported that according to the Pinellas County Forensic Science Center, his cause of death was determined to be from a heart attack. His manner of death was ruled natural. This was according to the cremation summary approval report. But then we learned that not only did he have atrial fibrillation, this is a heart condition causing irregular and rapid heart rhythm, but he also had been battling cancer. He was battling chronic lymphocytic leukemia. This is a type of cancer that affects white blood cells. This was reportedly a private fight that he was having. And honestly, that makes sense because we in the public had no idea that was going on. But again, what is happening right now? I will tell you a lot of weird stuff. So first, according to Hogan's widow, Sky Daly, this is per reporting from TMZ Sports and the New York Post, there may have been a mistake during a recent surgery that contributed to Hulk's death. She seems to claim that his phrenic nerve was, quote, compromised. She also stated that an autopsy had been conducted, but she didn't say what those results are. Actually, it's being reported that an occupational therapist who was apparently at Hulk's house, who was present at Hogan's Clearwater, Florida home when he stopped breathing, told police on the scene that a surgeon severed his phrenic nerve during a recent surgery. Now, this is apparently according to a police report that TMZ says is on, quote, lockdown. So TMZ is indicating that police had conversations about what this therapist allegedly told them, and that is captured on body camera video that hasn't been released. By the way, just so everybody knows, this phrenic nerve, according to the Cleveland Clinic, it is very, very important, and it controls your diaphragm, essentially your ability to breathe. According to TMZ, quote, our sources say Hulk did not have a chest-clenching episode before his passing. Rather, he merely stopped breathing. We're told it was his wife, Sky, who sounded the alarm when his breath halted, and that's when the 911 call was made. So as you're trying to process all of that, then you go to what Hulk Hogan's estranged daughter, Brooke, has come out and said. Because it's being reported that they hadn't spoken in 2 years. She didn't attend his wedding. She didn't even want to be in his will. She also apparently didn't attend his funeral on August 5th, but chose to honor him privately with her husband and children, although you will see she's trying to correct the record about a couple of things. However, since her father's death, she has been quite vocal. In fact, it's being reported she offered to pay for an autopsy at one point, saying, with all of the speculation and uncertainty of my dad's death, I want to personally offer to pay for an autopsy if that's what it takes to get it done. My dad's dignity and legacy deserves it. And she announced that her father's cremation would actually be delayed because there were questions surrounding the care that he had been receiving.
But gone under mysterious circumstances that raised more questions than answers. Fans around the world who grew up watching him tear down opponents in the ring, who saw him as indestructible, were left staring at their screens in disbelief. It felt surreal, impossible even, because Hogan had become more than a wrestler. He was a legend, an icon, a symbol of invincibility, and yet, the man who told the world to say their prayers and take their vitamins had met an end that no one could quite explain. The official announcements were vague. They said it was sudden, unexpected, but didn't provide much more. That silence immediately fueled speculation. People demanded answers, and when answers weren't provided, they started digging. And that's when the unsettling truth began to emerge, truths about Hogan's life, his struggles, his secrets, the things hidden behind the bright lights of the ring and the carefully crafted persona. The reality that surfaced was nothing like the heroic image he projected for decades. It was darker, more disturbing, and it raised the question, had Hogan
certificate? We have it. It shows that he was supposed to be cremated, and TMZ reports that Sky told them again that an autopsy was conducted, but the results weren't available. And let's actually talk about what she said in a series of recent Instagram posts. Since the media continues to twist the narrative, here's all I know. So stop speculating, stop asking. I've also informed my brother Nick Hogan of all of this information, who is boots on the ground with everything. Fact, I've 100% gotten legit calls from professionals, from police officials to nurses that were supposedly with my dad on the day of his death, telling me I need to see body cam footage and I need to get a hold of the 911 tapes because they supposedly contain information that could potentially shed enough light to change the narrative everyone's been hearing. Those same professionals feel so passionately about what they witnessed, they have continued to contact me and push me to find specific answers to this very day. They are quite literally putting their careers at risk because they feel so compelled to do the right thing. The short of it is, it's all up to my dad's wife and I have zero control. I cannot do anything. My hands are tied and I have no say in anything regarding my dad, even as his daughter. Those are the rules as I've been told. I do not have any information on if or when he is being cremated. Could have been right after he died, could be tomorrow, I do not know. I have been told by my brother that there will be an autopsy. I do not know who will be performing the autopsy. Any information I receive from an autopsy, if one happens, whether I believe it or not, I will be keeping private out of respect for my father. I do not have answers as to if the officials who have contacted me about what they witnessed relayed this information to the medical examiner's office. And if they did, I do not know why it wasn't taken into consideration. All body cam footage and 911 dispatch calls are not available via the Freedom of Information Act. It's all on lockdown. I do not know why. Do I question his general physician signing off on his death certificate, given his background, which is available for anyone to see via a simple Google search? You can answer that one for yourself. I have to trust that my brother is doing his best to get answers. At the end of the day, answers would be great, but none of it brings my dad back, and my hands are tied. So please stop misquoting, speculating, and asking me if I know anything. I cannot get any information. I know you think I could, being his blood, but I can't. We are already dealing with enough. I will not be talking about this mystery anymore. Now, by the way, we have a copy of that death certificate. It was issued July 31st. Has information about the date of death, the name, all that. It does say that the method of disposition is cremation, and the place of cremation is the Bay Area Crematory, Clearwater, Florida. Now, Sky, again, his wife, his widow, spoken out on Instagram too. Quote, Terry chose cremation knowing this physical life is temporary and his heavenly body eternal. He has not yet been cremated, as our family is making sure every question about his medical care is answered first. Once we have that peace of mind, we will honor his wish and fulfill it with love and respect. And she warned about misinformation being circulated online, created by faceless AI accounts or by people not close enough to truly know what was happening. But before we go any further, now we have a statement from Clearwater Police, okay, from the police department. This is actually from Rob Shaw, the public information officer of the Clearwater Police Department, who sent to Law and Crime, and it reads, the Clearwater Police Department continues its investigation into the July 24 death of Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan. We have been in communication with family members, including his son Nick and daughter Brooke. The unique nature of this case has required us to interview multiple witnesses and seek medical records from a variety of providers, and our detectives continue to do that. All of this takes time. The Hogan family has been appreciative of our efforts and our communication with them. Until the investigation is...
Hogan been hiding pain and chaos all along? From the outside, Hulk Hogan's life looked like the dream. He was one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, a household name in the 80s and 90s, the man who helped make professional wrestling a global phenomenon. He had the body, the charisma, the voice, the catchphrases, the merchandise. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was a superhero in the flesh. Kids idolized him, adults respected him, and for years he looked unstoppable. But behind that image was a man fighting battles the world never fully saw. In the months leading up to his death, there had been whispers of trouble. Friends and insiders claimed that Hogan's health had been deteriorating. Some mentioned financial stress. Others spoke of personal turmoil that weighed heavily on him. His relationships, both personal and professional, had been strained for years. Lawsuits, scandals, and controversies followed him in his later life, and though he tried to move forward, the stains never really faded. The heroic image fans once believed in was slowly being chipped away, replaced by something far more human and far more fragile.
Is completed, no records related to the case, including body camera footage, can be released. That is police department policy in every case. We plan to meet with the family and brief them on the case to this point, and we will share the results of the investigation with the family prior to closing the case and releasing it to the public and media. Wow. Now, to be clear about something, there has been no reporting of any kind of foul play associated with Hulk Hogan's death, so not entirely sure what the focus of this investigation could be exactly, but let's get some perspective. So right now I want to bring on trial attorney Aaliyah Roberts to talk more about this. Aaliyah, great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Can we start with the police statement?
Seems, just as it has been revealed by the police, that they might be trying to do their best to be politically correct, but it seems that there's something foul amiss. I have questions as to why the occupational therapist was at the home on the day of Hulk Hogan's death, and if he was interviewed and the police have that body camera footage, why the family has not seen the footage yet.
Do you think there's a connection between that? Like, we have to speak to witnesses, we have to look at medical records. Do you think it's linked up to that allegation of something that happened at a surgery?
It's possible. I think that obviously the medical records will tell you what did or did not happen, whatever history, his medical history that he has. Obviously, he was dealing with AFib or atrial fibrillation. He had that prior surgery. But as far as his actual phrenic nerve being compromised, I'm unsure. But regarding the actual police statements, I think that the police should have let the family see whatever conversations were had with the occupational therapist.
But that's typically how it works in an investigation, right? They're not going to let us know what's happening. They will let the family know. This could take a minute, but it does make me wonder, is this more of a situation we're looking into everything, okay? They mentioned closing the case. Is it we're going to make sure that no crime was committed here, that there was no foul play, we're going to close it and then we'll reveal it? Or is there something else going on?
That's what it seems like, right? Because usually if there's a medical malpractice issue, if you're filing a claim for medical malpractice,
The police wouldn't investigate.
the police would not investigate that. That's when you go to an attorney. The attorney who specializes in medical malpractice will get the records, review the records, determine whether or not there's been any foul play or the standard of care has not been met, the medical standard of care. So the police being involved, of course, gives me a huge, woo, 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 for lack of a better word, and a red flag as far as why are they there and why are they involved if it was just medical malpractice.
Is she right, Brooke Hogan, that her hands are tied, that even though she is his daughter, she does not have the right to make certain decisions or get more information, that it would really be up to his widow?
Absolutely, absolutely. The widow is now the power of attorney, and she's the only person who has, under HIPAA, she's the only person who has the ability to get Hulk Hogan's medical records. His daughter can't get the medical records because she has no license or ability, with her being the daughter and her not having any access to, like HIPAA. It's the power of attorney, which is his wife.
What do you think of the idea of holding off on the cremation?
Well, I think it's a good idea because if there was a foul play, if there was a sever of the phrenic nerve, if there was an issue with atrial fibrillation, an autopsy will be able to do that. That's why you do them if there is any question of a cause of death, right? I can take the heart out, I can look at the heart, I can look at the nerves, if it was compromised or severed, I'm going to be able to see that when I open up his body and I look at his nerves.
Let's talk about what a potential...
When the reports of his death hit, those controversies suddenly came roaring back. Old scandals resurfaced in headlines. People began to connect dots, questioning whether the pressures from his past had contributed to what happened. Some wondered whether the emotional toll of years of lawsuits, financial settlements, and public scrutiny had finally broken him down. Others suggested there may have been more sinister forces at play, pointing to the mysterious and almost evasive way the circumstances of his death were initially handled. The wrestling community was divided. On one side, there were those who wanted to mourn the legend, to remember the man who inspired millions. On the other, there were those who couldn't ignore the darker side of his legacy, the disturbing truths about his personal life and the choices he made outside the ring. For them, Hogan's death was not just tragic but haunting, because it forced everyone to confront the fact that the man they cheered for was not the flawless hero they thought he was. What truly unsettled people were the rumors about what Hogan had been going through in his final days. Stories began
practice having to do with an injury, at least as a nurse who was on the scene, a nurse,
an occupational
therapist who was on the scene, who feared and shared this fear with the police that during a surgery that Hulk's phrenic nerve had been severed.
And the phrenic nerve basically connects to the diaphragm, which controls breathing. What's significant here is we are told that Hulk's wife, Sky, sounded the alarm when she saw Hulk had stopped breathing. Now, Charles and I have been going back and forth because I was on the phone with sources
dealing with
45 minutes ago when he was working on the Lil Nas X story. So when I was on the phone, you say that the occupational therapist feared. Actually, what I was told was he said it. He didn't think it. He said,
the nurse said this.
The nurse, the occupational therapist, said that it was the result of this phrenic nerve.
This nurse,
it's not a nurse. There was a nurse there and an occupational therapist.
Said that it actually did happen?
That's what he said. Now, I don't know the basis of it. I do know, based on our phone calls that we made, that it is in the police report and there is body cam at the scene. And I'm told that there is body cam both where the officers were discussing it amongst themselves, and presumably there is body cam when police were interacting with the occupational therapist. What is really interesting about this, and honestly we have not gotten to the bottom of yet, is that there was talk that Hulk had been cremated. Brooke Hogan, Hulk's daughter, has wanted an autopsy and said there was something suspicious here. You would think if, we don't know whether he's been cremated yet. A week ago they said he had not yet been cremated, but we don't know what the status is now. But you would think they would go for an autopsy if there was any evidence of medical malpractice.
Correct. And you remember, Hulk had 2 surgeries. In mid-May, he had a fusion on his neck to repair a neck injury he had. That's when Charles mentioned. But about a week or 2 or a couple days before he passed away, he had a surgery on his heart as well. So it's unclear which surgery the occupational therapist is addressing with the phrenic nerve.
But it was a recent surgery.
So all that being said, though, you would think that if he had both these operations prior, you would want the autopsy to figure out
why wouldn't
happened.
If the police have this information from, at least as the occupational therapist put it, why wouldn't the why wouldn't the police order an autopsy?
I can't answer.
Even without the
as
families.
As opposed to Sky needing it, right?
I cannot answer that question yet. I don't know the ins and outs of Florida law that way. I just don't know. But the odd thing to me is that if this was medical malpractice, you would think the family, i.e. Sky, would have a claim, and you would want that autopsy to confirm it. And that's why this is so odd.
Circulating about him being increasingly isolated, paranoid even, as though he knew something was coming. Close sources claimed he had been speaking cryptically, talking about secrets that would come out after he was gone. Whether those were real or simply the embellishments of those seeking attention didn't matter. The public latched onto them. The idea that Hulk Hogan, the immortal figure of wrestling, had been living in fear of his own secrets being exposed made his death feel even more mysterious. The public wanted clarity. They wanted an explanation. A clear answer about how such a larger-than-life figure could suddenly be gone. But the answers never came. Instead, what followed was silence. A silence that only made the speculation grow louder. Some claimed Hogan had been targeted, that enemies from his past may have finally caught up with him. Others believed it was the weight of his own demons. That years of living under immense pressure and public scrutiny had taken their toll. And then there were the conspiracy theories, wild and unverified, that suggested Hogan knew too much about the darker side of the entertainment industry, and his death was not a
medical malpractice lawsuit would look like. Again, I don't have details about this surgery, what the surgery was for, when the surgery happened, what was going on. But my immediate thought was, causation, right? And trying to establish that. What are you thinking about in terms of a medical malpractice lawsuit?
I think timing matters, right? Because
explain that, yeah.
Yeah, so if just the way that the body works, right? The phrenic nerve, as we know, is the nerve that controls your breathing. So if it was compromised or severed, Was he having shortness of breath up into his cause of death? Was there anything that was different about that? Because if it was severed, he would have not been able to breathe immediately, right? If it was pinched and maybe it continued to break as he continued to go on with occupational therapy or his everyday life, that might have been something that could have been avoided depending on the surgeon. And then you have to have another surgeon look at the medical records, because that's what medical malpractice attorneys do, right? We're lawyers, we're not doctors, but we know medicine. So we have an expert doctor that looks at the records and says, yes, he definitely compromised this nerve based off of the way in which the operative report is written, because it's supposed to be in the operative report if there was something that went awry.
So based on what the reporting is right now, it seems that there was a conclusion by some in his inner circle or medical professionals that that nerve might have been compromised before he died. They came to that conclusion because it doesn't seem like there was an autopsy conducted and they say, uh-oh, this was compromised. So this was a conclusion before he died, right? That's what's interesting about it. I mean, again, taking it as true, what the body cam might reveal, what the occupational therapist might have said. Was it a situation where he was in a bad state, or does it happen sudden? You know, this is what's so strange about it.
Right, and I think that's what we talk about with timing, right? Timing matters, because if something like this happens, like where it's severed or compromised, there's a difference between I've nicked this nerve and I've completely cut it, right? Or I've completely snipped it. That's why I say, like, if it was a nick versus like an actual severed, he wouldn't have been able to breathe at all and he wouldn't have come back from anesthesia at all, right? But if it was just even a little pinch, right? Even I slice it just a hair, and then you continue to go on with your everyday life. Now you're moving and your neck is moving, your body is moving, you're getting up, you're getting down, you're going on with everyday life. And if there was any type of shortness of breath or any type of issues that could have been associated with his atrial fibrillation, because sometimes you have shortness of breath with AFib. So
Right.
maybe if he was having that, maybe his wife, who's not a medical professional, thought, oh, it's just the AFib, you know, we'll take your medicine and continue on doing what we're doing.
What did you make of Brooke Hogan's statement? I mean, on one hand, it's such a heart-wrenching situation for the family to be dealing with. And on top of that, as they're dealing with the grief and the loss, now they have to deal with the public and information coming out and trying to set the record straight. What did you make of her Instagram posts?
I think she did all that she can do, right? Because unfortunately, when you're the child of a celebrity, you're expected to make a statement. When something like this comes out, like, hey, the death might have been caused by foul play, or there might have been an issue with the surgery, right? And we as the people, like the social media, the bots or whoever, the viewers, we want to know what happened, right? We're doing our own investigation. We're trying to Google and see what we can find out as well. And we're expecting you to find out and tell us because we want to know. And it's hard because she's grieving, so it's unfair.
There is something else that she said that I want to get into about potential legal consequences. So Brooke went on TMZ Live and she took aim at those in her father's inner circle. And she did it to fight back against essentially what are fake narratives about her relationship with her father regarding not reaching out to him or returning unopened gifts, not going to his funeral. This is what she said, quote, "Whoever is spinning this negative narrative about me, trying to get ahead or discredit me or what."
Simple as it seemed. Fans across the world were left in conflict. They wanted to remember their hero, the man who told them to never give up, the man who defined their childhoods. But with each disturbing revelation, that memory grew harder to hold on to. Every headline about secrets coming to light, every whispered story about his private life, made it clear that the truth about Hulk Hogan was far more complicated than the legend people celebrated. He was not just the hero in the ring. He was also a man with flaws, mistakes, and shadows that eventually caught up with him. The most heartbreaking part of it all was the way his death reframed his entire career. Suddenly, every highlight reel, every victory, every triumphant speech felt different. The smiles on children's faces when he raised his championship belt, the roar of the crowd when his entrance music hit, the global phenomenon of Hulkamania, all of it now carried an undertone of sadness. Because behind the bright lights was a man hiding pain. The very strength he projected to the world may have been a mask that hid the vulnerability and fear he lived with until the very end. And now the world is left with questions that may never be answered. How did Hulk Hogan really die? What role did his secrets play in the final chapter of his life?
Shocking death. 4 days after the retired wrestling star died on July 24th at the age of 71, the late WWE legend's ex-wife speaks out on social media. Writing to Instagram on July 28th, "I had no idea he would pass away this soon. We all really thought he would make a comeback. Big surprise. We are all devastated. It's hitting me so hard. I loved Hulkster more than he loved me. It hurt me when he cheated, but he was so famous. I sort of understood, but it was crushing. It hurt." And Linda, who was married to Hulk for 26 years until their 2009 split and shared kids Brooke and Nick, goes on to note that the family rift left her feeling, quote, broken. Writing, "We still were family. It's so hard to know he's just gone. I tried to stay strong for Nick, but I'm me. I love you, Hulkster. You were my man. The only man for me. R.I.P." On July 24th, Clearwater Police Department personnel responded to a medical emergency relating to a, quote, cardiac arrest, a local official confirmed to E! News. Hulk was transferred to a local hospital where he was
To me, that as far as we know, there has not yet been an autopsy.
Correct.
And that's what does not make sense to me. You know, there are other things that Brooke wonders about, we're told, but this now we know is in the police report. And again, presumably, we're told on body cam, at least amongst the officers.
Right.
And I'm assuming that the whole conversation with the occupational therapist
By the way,
is on.
and Sky was present when this was happening.
Sky was right there.
Sky was right
She's
there.
the one who sounded the alarm in the first
Right.
place. He was, we're told he was sitting in a chair.
Correct.
He was sitting in a chair. This wasn't a heart attack where he grabbed his heart, we're told. He was sitting in a chair.
And just stopped breathing.
And just stopped breathing.
So there has to be an autopsy. I mean,
But yet we're told.
None as of yet. No.
why there hasn't been an autopsy? And although the fact that he has not been cremated, or at least as of last week, had not been cremated, at least points to that they're talking, there's some conversations
Sky
going
said
on
that.
about this.
She put on her Instagram story that she was there was family concerns and they weren't going to cremate him until those family concerns got assuaged. So, but that was
Well,
a
now,
week
I think
ago, though.
now
So
we know what those family concerns are.
correct. Yeah.
But she was present
Right.
when the
Right.
occupational
so why isn't
therapist
she
said,
ordering it?
Exactly.
Right.
There are questions.
Hey, I'm Cameron from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Who knew what was really happening behind closed doors? And why were they silent until now? The mystery of his death has become as legendary as his career itself, and the disturbing truths that have begun to emerge will forever change the way the world remembers him. But it's not just the suddenness of his death that has left people unsettled, it's the secrets that have started coming to light in its wake. Reports suggest that Hogan had been battling demons behind closed doors, struggling with personal and financial pressures, strained relationships, and a series of controversies that tarnished the golden image fans once had of him. These secrets, once hidden away in the shadows, are now being dragged into the spotlight, forcing the world to look at Hogan not as the hero he played in the ring, but as a flawed man whose life may have been spiraling out of control. The tragic irony is that Hulk Hogan always promised his fans honesty. He told them to believe in him, to follow his lead, to never stop fighting, and yet, in the end, his life was a puzzle of half-truths, hidden battles, and disturbing secrets that only surfaced when it was too late. The legend of Hulk Hogan may live on, but it will never be the same, because now, behind every cheer, behind every memory of his glory days, there will always be the haunting shadow of his mysterious death and the secrets that came with it. Hulk Hogan once told the world to train hard, to say their prayers, and to believe in themselves. For millions, those words defined an era, gave strength, and created memories that will never fade. But now, those same fans are left asking a very different question. What was really happening when the camera stopped rolling, when the arena lights went dark, and when the world wasn't watching? His death has left a void in wrestling. But more than that, it has left a mystery filled with disturbing truths that may never be fully uncovered. And so, the world mourns, not just for the man they lost, but for the illusions that were shattered in the wake of his passing. The invincible hero was human after all. The unstoppable force could not escape the weight of his own reality, and the legend, as great as it was, will forever carry the mark of the dark secrets that came to light after his mysterious death.